Commission on Elections is all set for the nationwide mock elections scheduled for tomorrow. Police say they will monitor mall shoppers who buy items that may be used for criminal acts. The Commission on Audit says it will take time reviewing the Senate's financial documents. And Petron and Solane roll back their prices of liquefied petroleum gas. I'm Nancy Irlanda. This is Solar Nightly News. Good evening. The Commission on Elections is all set for its first mock election scheduled for tomorrow in at least 10 areas across the country. Patricia Ongsiaco tells us more.
Practice makes perfect. But for COMELEC Chairman Sixto Brillantes says, though everything is all set for the mock elections tomorrow, he does not expect the dry run to be flawless. Brillantes explains the mock polls are intended to simulate the scenario during the actual election day to iron out any kinks that may arise, from the lining up of voters outside the precincts to random manual audit.
Go na kami. All of our people are already scattered all over the country, yung mga areas.
In Metro Manila, registered voters will participate in the mock polls in 2 precincts, one at Barangay University of the Philippines campus and another at the Bagong Lipunan ng Krame from 7 in the morning until 7 in the evening, the same voting hours as on May 13. The test polls will also be held in 10 provinces nationwide, where 50 registered voters from each area will put the system to a test. But the voting hours are shorter, from 7 in the morning up to 12 noon.
Mga fictitious names yun nandun. Hindi pwedeng gamitin eh. In fact, fictitious na foreign sounding. Ayaw namin gumamit ng Pilipino din. Baka may pumatak na kandidatong ganun.
Brillantes encourages the participants to support the mock polls for a first-hand glimpse of what to expect on election day. After the closing of the precincts, a random manual audit will be done and the results of the test run will be announced. Patricia Ongsiaco, Solar News.
Well, the Commission on Elections is expected to sign a clarificatory resolution on campaign rules in media. This comes after a public hearing with the Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas and a television network which questions some of the provisions of the poll body's campaign guidelines. Patricia Ongsiaco returns with this report.
After the public hearing with the Kapisanan ng mga broadcaster ng Pilipinas and a television network on Wednesday, COMELEC Chairman Sixto Brillantes says the COMELEC en banc is set to issue a clarificatory resolution on the poll body's campaign rules and regulations. Brillantes explains the Commission will only release additional guidelines on the provisions on the right to reply and media networks seeking prior approval before conducting interviews with candidates. After revealing on Wednesday that COMELEC was inclined to delete the entire provision on the right to reply, Brillantes says the poll body has decided to retain it and will just indicate the guidelines or step-by-step procedures that have to be followed. Brillantes explains the provision's removal would have given the COMELEC the authority to act motu proprio, or on its own initiative, even without receiving any valid complaint from any aggrieved party. He says this will make it more difficult for media practitioners in their news-gathering operations. Brillantes adds the resolution will also include more details on the provision on COMELEC's request for prior notice on interviews to be conducted by networks.
Hindi, pero reward lang namin yung prior notice na hindi yung notice na hindi very clear ang notice. Yung mag-i-interview ka, pina-qualify na namin yung sinasabi natin na ano ba ang kino-cover.
Brillantes says the clarificatory resolution is set to be signed by the en banc today, including Commissioners Rene Sarmiento and Armando Velasco, who will be retiring tomorrow. though Brillantes has yet to receive word on who will take the place of Sarmiento and Velasco. He says he prefers President Benigno Aquino to appoint someone from within the commission to ensure a smooth transition.
Pero okay lang yon. It's the prerogative of the president. So we can manage whoever is appointed. IT, lawyer, okay lang. Kung mas magaling kung merong IT lawyer.
Patricia Ongsiaco, Solar News.
Budget Secretary Butch Abad denies the Liberal Party has picked Interior Secretary Mar Rojas as the party's official standard-bearer in 2016, though Abad was quick to add Rojas may most likely end up as the ruling party's presidential bet. Ina Andalong filed this report.
Despite Senator Franklin Drilon's disclosure on the most likely Liberal Party presidential bet in 2016, another LP official says the party has yet to decide officially on fielding Interior Secretary Mar Rojas as the next LP standard-bearer. Budget Secretary Butch Abad says the ruling party has not even started with the selection process for 2016 candidates.
That is an opinion expressed by Senator Drilon, and we respect that opinion because he is a senior member of the political party. But that is not to say that is what the party has already decided, because there is still a process that we have to go through in selecting our candidates for 2016, and that has not even started yet.
Abad did say 2016 may be round 2 for Rojas and Vice President Jejomar Binay. Rojas lost to Binay in the 2010 vice presidential election. Rojas's election protest is still pending before the Presidential Electoral Tribunal.
We hope it is, because he is certainly prepared for this.
However, this time Abad believes Rojas is better prepared. Abad is also confident the LP campaign in 2016 will not be affected by internal factions that affected Rojas's vice presidential bid. In 2010, President Aquino's campaign was supposedly handled by two camps, one that supported the Aquino-Rojas tandem and another that backed Noy B. While such factions may be inevitable, he says the public can expect a stronger LP that has organized itself better at the local levels.
Well, ever since President Aquino won, we have been organizing in every barangay, in every municipality, in every province in this country.
Abad is also confident the LP senatorial slate this year will fare better than the party slate in 2010. Malacanang sees nothing wrong with having LP bets sweep the results of the upcoming senatorial elections. Members of the United Nationalist Alliance says Malacanang wants LP's bets to win so that it can control a puppet Senate.
That is up for the voters to decide. If the voters want to vote for particular candidates because they support the reform agenda of the people, that is not for Attorney Bautista to dictate.
Abad says UNA should instead focus on defining itself in relation to the party in power. For the Liberal Party, it's black and white. It's either you're with the president or against him. Until the United Nationalist Alliance makes it as clear as day what it stands for, Abad says the ambiguity may sow confusion by taking the best of both political worlds. Ina Andalong, Solar News.
Tonight, we begin Inform in 100, the Solar News countdown to the May 13, 2013 midterm elections. First things first, here is an overview of the past elections and what to expect in the next 100 days. We have Pia Ontiveros.
The May 13 elections will be only the country's second automated elections. The first was the May 10, 2010 election. If Filipinos had gotten used to manual elections where it would take 3, sometimes 4 weeks before the country knew who had won, then 2010 was a most welcome relief. Results were coming in at an unprecedented speed, a few hours after the polls closed. And in a country where no one loses an election and every loser was cheated, the unheard of happened. Presidential candidates were conceding so fast. So fast that citizens' arms, like the heroic NAMFREL of bloody elections in the distant past, the courageous NAMFREL that did a quick count of the votes, got its wish to be obsolete.
We had hoped we would be obsolete by 2001 or 2004.
Politics is a national pastime and a passion. People have been killed in cold blood because of it. Which is both strange and makes plenty of sense in a country that analysts have said a long time ago considers elections as safety valves, a way by which we let off a little steam every 3 years until it's time to go back to our everyday lives. And so in a little over a week and a half, the carnival, the fiesta, the cockfight begins again. Although the election period began on January 13, the campaign begins in earnest on February 12 for national candidates, the 33 who are running for only 12 Senate seats, and the party list groups in a list that's been trimmed of excess fat. And for the thousands upon thousands just dying to get an elective post as congressman, mayor, governor, and anything besides, campaign begins in late March.
More fun in the Philippines.
Elections, that is. Two main slates are slugging it out for the 12 Senate seats. One was the first to get its act together and has the three kings behind it. But the other has the country's biggest asset as its campaigner-in-chief and voiceover talent.
Ang Team Pinoy, mga tunay na tuwid sa daang matuwid.
But these two slates not only have in common three candidates, but are seen as allies of a president who is extremely popular. Which then makes one conclude that the United Nationalist Alliance isn't exactly the opposition party, or so it tries its best to project.
As one columnist put it, it's a battle of yellow versus yellower.
But irony runs deep where Pinoy politics is concerned, making it more dizzying and confusing in the Philippines. Only in the Philippines will you find enemies on the same slate, making the word strange bedfellows one of the biggest understatements in Philippine political history. Only in the Philippines will you find new faces with old names, the bimpos, batang inihain ng mga magulang sa politika, as opposed to the trapos. Of course, only in the Philippines, if it's not the children, it's the wife, making franchise a political byword. Only in the Philippines is recycling not just about environmental awareness, and where returnees and veterans have taken on a whole new meaning. Only in the Philippines is the Senate not just a springboard to the presidency, but also a huge safety net when the presidency or the vice presidency wasn't meant for you. Only in the Philippines is having the best of both political worlds widely accepted. Only in the Philippines is a candidate told he's welcome to join the ticket together with the one to whom he believes he lost his Senate seat. Only in the Philippines is there a huge dearth of candidates and the gene pool for senators so small that siblings or parent and child sit in the Senate together. Only in the Philippines is name recall not always about you, but about your more famous relative. And only in the Philippines are elections seen as proxy wars, as 2013 is seen as one between erstwhile rivals for the vice presidency in 2010, Mar Rojas and Jojo Binay, or a preview of a rematch in 2016. Then again, a candidate doesn't get voted into office unless we give him or her our vote. So much so that we've been told election after election to vote wisely, and to our dismay, don't find that name on the ballot. The COMELEC estimates that a projected 51 million Filipinos are expected to cast their votes on May 13. There is no official estimate yet for the number of new voters. Quite a number of them, though, as Pinoys are wont to do, registered, of course, at the very, very last minute. It's still going to be your friendly neighborhood PICOS machine you will encounter in your assigned precinct. When the polls close, the machine will count the votes. Canvassing of the election returns, the results of votes in the precincts, will be done at the municipal or city level. All local candidates will be proclaimed by local boards of canvassers. But the national candidates, senators, and party list will be proclaimed by the National Board of Canvassers, the Commission on Elections sitting en banc. Some IT experts still insist there's something terribly wrong with the PICOS machines and Smartmatic, but the COMELEC says otherwise. In elections that have moved from antiquated and thoroughly fraud-prone to modern, quick, and fraud-free to a certain extent, from writing down names to shading ovals on a ballot, from taras to picos, the Filipino has come a long way. How much longer we have to go before elections are more than more fun in the Philippines, before we cease to accept that which is accepted as only the Philippines, before we transform our elections from just a national pastime to a true test of a mature democracy, is really all up to each and every single one of us. Pia Ontiveros, Solar News.
The Commission on Audit says it will carefully review the Senate's financial documents. This after the Senate was asked to submit its financial reports to the COA following the alleged unfair distribution of Senate funds. AC Nichols has details.
Commission on Audit Chairperson Grace Pulido-Tan says the agency will take its time in evaluating financial documents submitted by the Senate recently. Tan, through a letter requested for the financial records of the Senate, specifically all documents on the augmentation and realignment of funds, as well as how individual senators utilize distributed maintenance and other operating expenses. The request came amid the controversy over the alleged unfair distribution of Senate funds as additional MOOE among senators. Tan says she cannot say at this point what specific liquidation instruments were submitted, though what is for sure is that the evaluation of all the documents will take a while. She adds the agency cannot rush the audit process as it will be dealing with liquidation of millions of public funds.
Ako, mahirap i-describe ko anong process ng pag-audit, no? Kasi yan nga ang trabaho namin, no? Day in, day out, okay? And it depends on the complexity of the transactions, the kind of documents, and the audit, the evidentiary value in audit of these documents. I-analyze pa ho natin yan. Numero yan. Marami tayong mga titingnan dyan na mga different aspects of the transaction.
Tan explains the financial records of the Senate have always been open for audit. However, it has been a practice of the Senate as well as the House of Representatives to liquidate cash advances only through certification and not through receipts. As far as Tan knows, this practice started way back in 1998. In the wake of the controversy over unfair distribution of MOOE, Tan was prompted to ask for the Senate's financial records for extensive audit.
Sa kanila na rin nanggaling na may mga hindi karapat-dapat, may mga gastusin na hindi tama, etc. etc. So, syempre naman, di ba? At saka sa kanila na rin nanggaling that they are going to open their books for audit of the Commission.
While COA will not follow a timetable on the Senate funds audit, Tan assures the audit report will immediately be made available to the public once the process is finished. AC Nichols, Solar News.
An international human rights group says the Philippines has failed to hold government security forces accountable for serious abuses. This despite the country's passage of human rights legislation last year. Human Rights Watch says the government has failed to address the lack of punishment for abuses committed by alleged members of the AFP and the PNP, including those against environmental and anti-mining activists. Asia Director Brad Adams also criticizes the passage of the cybercrime law, saying that it could prove disastrous for internet freedom. The Court of Appeals will no longer act on the petition for a temporary restraining order filed by suspended Cebu Governor Gwendolyn Garcia. According to a resolution from the court's 12th Division, the court must forgo any ruling on the TRO petition, pointing out that Garcia herself had abandoned the plea since a TRO will only last for 60 days. However, the court says it granted Garcia's motion to file a reply to the comment given by the Office of the Solicitor General. Garcia was suspended due to allegations of usurpation of authority. The Department of Energy issues a statement in response to Meralco's claim that the power shortage in Luzon was due to the lack of new power plants. The DOE says that according to the 2012 Power Development Plan, or PDP, new power projects are to be expected from 2013 to 2015. In addition, current power plants will also undergo rehabilitation in order to increase their output. Well, the Philippine Air Force will begin training its pilots for the new FA-50 fighter jets, which the government will buy from South Korea. David Santos tells us more.
For the past decade, the Defense Department had its sights trained on dealing with internal threats to security. These include the New People's Army and Moro Islamic Liberation Front rebels, as well as lawless groups such as the Abu Sayyaf. With the breakthrough on the GPH-MILF peace talks, which has led to peace in Mindanao, the focus has shifted to external threats. The still unresolved territorial dispute over West Philippine Sea with China and other claimant countries has put into spotlight military limitations in defending the country's borders.
That's exactly why we need this purchase. That's exactly why we need to get a lead-in fighter trainer slash with some capabilities that can also address some of the issues with regards to our territorial defense.
The DND announced this week it is currently in talks with a South Korean firm to purchase a dozen FA-50 fighter jets. These are supersonic aircraft that are equipped with radars and specific type of ammunitions based on the requirements set by the Philippine Air Force. The deal will cost 18 billion pesos and is expected to be sealed before the end of this month. According to the Air Force, the acquisition of the new fighter aircraft, along with the establishment of modern radars and communication systems, should boost the country's air defense, particularly in warding off would-be intruders.
These are capabilities that we need either to acquire, since we don't have, or to upgrade, since our existing equipment are nearing obsolescence. We're not doing this because we have to show anybody. We're doing this because we need it.
With the new fighter jets expected to be delivered in 2 years, the Air Force said it was preparing to train its pilots to man the new aircraft. Ocol himself was an Air Force pilot and was among those who flew the vintage F-5 before it was decommissioned 7 years ago. The country may sound like it is lagging behind the military might of its Asian neighbors, but Ocol said airmen take pride in flying the new fighter jets.
Of course, we have to start. And this is, we have to start somewhere, and this is what we're really, again, excited about.
The Air Force is also looking forward to the procurement of 21 additional UE choppers that should boost the existing squadron of combat helicopters. These choppers will be tapped to augment the transport of logistical requirements for the 2013 midterm elections. David Santos, Solar News.
Malacanang says the effectivity of the resignation of National Disaster Risk Reduction and Management Council Executive Director Benito Ramos will have to wait a little while longer until President Aquino finds a replacement. Ramos's resignation was due to take effect today, but Malacanang says the NDRRMC head cannot leave his post until the president has chosen a replacement. Deputy Presidential Spokesperson Abigail Valte says President Aquino is still choosing between two possible replacements for Ramos. An environmental group wants U.S. ships to steer clear of Philippine waters to avoid another Tubataha Reef incident. Here's George Cahiles.
A Palawan-based environmental group calls on the government to stop the entry of U.S. vessels in the country following the grounding of the USS Guardian on the Tubataha Reef. The nagkakaisang mga tribo ng Palawan says the grounding incident is not an honest mistake. The group says the American warship's military forces is exploring the Philippine territory and natural resources that may be useful to them in the future.
Kumbaga, ginagalugad na yung ating resources, pa-ismay pa yung gobyerno natin. No? Parang takot na takot ba sa US?
Mandawa adds, the incident not only caused destruction to the coral reef, but also affected the livelihood of the locals.
Slightly, hindi nila madidetect yan. No, akala nila yung pagbaba ng catch nila ng fish ay bunga lang ng kung ano-anong mga pangyayari. Pero malaki epekto yung pagkasira ng more than 1,000 square meter corals ng Tubataha.
December last year, the Armed Forces of the Philippines and the U.S. Pacific Command signed new terms under the Mutual Defense Treaty that will allow frequent visits of U.S. vessels in the Philippines. The USS Guardian made a port call in Subic Bay in January 12 and was supposed to make another port call in Puerto Princesa on January 16. But a source says a few days before the expected docking of the USS Guardian in Puerto Princesa, it called off the port call. On January 17, the 1,300-ton USS Guardian ran aground on the Tubataha Reef, causing damage to 1,500 square meters of corals based on the report of the Tubataha Reef Protected Area Management Board. The Environmental Legal Assistance Center says the environmental impacts of treaties like the Visiting Forces Agreement must be considered.
When the agreement was done, environmental impacts were not considered. Palagi lang civil, political, and social. Diba? So environmental or ecological aspects have not been considered. Perhaps this may be an opportunity to take a look into that, diba? Because this is Palawan.
ANDA says the Task Force Tubataha must carefully weigh the pros and cons of the salvage operations to be executed by the U.S. Navy.
We cannot afford more time. Any delay will be more damaging to the coral reefs, will imperil food security, diba? I mean, all these considerations. We strongly urge, again, the TPAMB, the task force to get their act together and other partners to, again, identify the most feasible option, the most environmentally feasible option.
The U.S. Navy plans to remove the USS Guardian from the protected area by cutting it into segments. It earlier announced that 2 crane ships will arrive tomorrow, but based on the latest information, only 1 vessel, the U.S.-commissioned crane ship Smith Borneo, is expected to dock at the Puerto Princesa port. Upon arrival, the pontoon-type vessel will undergo a customs check at the port before it can proceed to the Tubataha Reef. Smith Borneo has gross tonnage of 7,300 and has been commissioned for several salvage operations around the world. George Cahiles, Solar News, Puerto Princesa City, Palawan.
Weather news now. Weather Bureau Pagasa says a diffused tail end of a cold front is affecting conditions in the eastern section of Luzon. Light to moderate rains will prevail over eastern Visayas and light rains over Cagayan Valley, the Bicol region, and the provinces of Aurora and Quezon. Meanwhile, clouds will bring isolated rains over Metro Manila and the rest of the country. We've got a look now at the rest of temperatures here and around the region. Police will now monitor mall shoppers who buy items that may be used for criminal acts. This after a pipe wrench bought inside SM Mega Mall was used to rob a jewelry shop over the weekend. Miguel Ortilia has details.
On the heels of a spate of crime incidents, particularly the robbery that happened in SM Mega Mall, the National Capital Region Police Office has ramped up efforts in tracking would-be criminals. Starting today, police and security guards will snoop into the shopping list of mall shoppers to keep an eye of the items they are buying, which they say can be used as tools for criminal acts.
Importanteng higpitan kasi alam nyo yung problema nung Sabado doon nag-umpisa. Hindi lang dito. Martilyo. Yung po pwede ipampalo. Hindi na namin sasabihin kung paano namin gagawin, pero they will be monitored.
These include hammers, metal tubes, wrenches, and axes. In last Saturday's heist, suspected members of the Martillo gang bought 2 pipe wrenches inside Megamall, which they eventually used to smash jewelry shelves. SM Mall Security says they welcome Director Espina's directive, adding they have enough CCTV cameras and security personnel to keep an eye of potential criminals.
We coordinated with the lab store kasi sila kasi may hawak ng affiliates. So far, kumuha pa lang kami ng feedback doon. Pero na-coordinate na namin.
Wala naman kayong gagawing masama. Wala naman kayo dapat ipangamba. Correct? Kung ako bibili ngayon ng pipe wrench, wala naman akong gagawing masama. Ba't ko papansinin kayo? Di ba?
Mall security agencies are suggesting a different plan to just give out claim stubs and give the items when customers are about to exit the malls. But neither of these plans seem to be acceptable to mall goers. Although some customers find the idea cumbersome.
Magiging abala sa mga mga customer ng mga mall. Siyempre, hindi naman madalas laging mga tao pag dumaan lang sa mall, siyempre, marami rin bitbit na yan, mga gamit.
Meanwhile, the Eastern Police District has released the names of 3 out of 6 suspects in the SM Megamall robbery. Alex Demalin, Tho Mangulamas, and Nasruddin Andal. Operatives raided their hideout in Maharlika Village, Taguig City this morning, but the suspects have already fled. Espina says the suspects' other safe houses have also been identified.
Pero alam na namin kung sino mga gumawa nito at tinahabol na namin. We'll not disclose lang details. Lapit na yan. Lapit na.
Miguel Ortilla, Solar News.
The Quezon City Police District arrests 2 alleged members of the so-called Donut Gang who figured in a shooting incident with mall security guards at Robinson's Magnolia on Wednesday. Cubao Station Commander Superintendent Ronnie Montejo identified the suspects as Nomer Pacheco and Richard Fontanilla. Montejo says Pacheco was a former police officer assigned to Parañaque City who went AWOL in 2006. Both suspects were apprehended inside their home in Tondo, Manila at 3 this morning. They earned the moniker Donut Gang for stealing car wheels and tires. Almost 17,000 or 34% of examinees passed the latest nursing board exam. Those who landed in the top spots share stories of hard work and how that paid off. Here's Pia Bonalos with more.
Hard work indeed pays off. Nursing board top-notchers learned that life lesson after making it to the top 10 of the December 2012 nursing board exams. 4th placer Ralph De Los Santos says although he did not graduate with top honors in elementary and high school, he has always been interested in human sciences. His love for biology led him to a career in medicine.
Sa bio kasi, more on life hanggang ngayon na-amaze ako kung paano nagkakaroon ng life forms, di ba? Paano bigla nagkaroon ng buhay? Then paano na-maintain yung buhay?
8th placer Debbie Marie Bais had a simpler reason in choosing nursing as her course in college.
Noong 4th year high school na ako, kasi may malapit na hospital sa amin. Every time na dadaan ako at papasok ng school, parang gusto kong makita yung sarili ko na ganun din yung uniform ko.
For 10th placer Neri Vayman, it was seeing how public hospitals work in the Philippines that pushed her to take up nursing.
One time, nanganak yung mama ko. Tapos na-observe ko po kung paano alagaan yung mga patient sa hospital. Tapos medyo public hospital po kasi siya. So parang hindi ganun kaganda yung parang hindi naman kaganda yung standard. So sabi ko po, gusto kong maging nurse para pag ako na yung naging nurse, gagawin ko po kung ano talaga yung care na deserve ng patient.
All of them agree that preparing for the exams was no easy feat.
Sabi ko, hindi ako magpe-Facebook, hindi ako magte-Twitter, nag-self-review ako. Tapos, ang inattendan ko na lang is final coaching. Yung everyday review ko, medyo frustrating siya kasi parang feeling ko, tama ba itong ginagawa ko? Parang, ang tapang ko naman masyado para ako na lang yung mag-review. Pero talagang, ang kinunan ko ng strength is si God talaga.
I prayed a lot. Yun po talaga yung una kong ginawa.
While some nursing students are discouraged with apparent limited career opportunities, these top-notchers still have their hopes up.
Yung preparation kasi sa board exam, hindi siya yung madalian lang. Kailangan unang-una siset mo yung sarili mo. Ready na ba ako talagang mag-exam?
Ang nagiging thinking kasi natin, pag nurse ka, dapat sa hospital ka lang. Dapat sa mga clinic ka lang. Pero sa totoo lang, ang dami-daming opportunities na pwedeng pasukin ng isang nurse.
Pwede ka namang maging nurse sa sarili mong bahay. Isipin ko, ilan ang nurse lahat ngayon? Kung may nurse sa bawat bahay, ibig sabihin, naaalagaan yung mga bawat bahay na yon.
De Los Santos also has a bit of advice for nursing students.
Yung mga free times nila, try nila kahit magbasa ka ng ng libro. Kasi ang naging paniniwala ko, nakuha ko nung high school. Halimbawa, nagbasa ka ngayon, kung ano yung nabasa mo ngayon, 1 page ka na mas matalino kaysa kanina. And then pag nabasa mo, halimbawa natapos mo yung isang libro, ibig sabihin, isang libro kang mas matalino kaysa dati.
These 3 top-notchers kept their eyes on the prize, proving that burning the proverbial midnight oil has its rewards. Pia Banalos, Solar News.
Well, commuters expressed their support for the Metropolitan Manila Development Authority's new bus management and dispatch system, despite the possible delays in travel time the new scheme may bring. Meanwhile, the Senate has passed the Anti-Drunk and Drugged Driving Act of 2012 on its third and final reading. Patricia De Leon tells us more.
Commuters welcome the new bus management and dispatch system by the MMDA, which kick-started yesterday. Elvira Medina of the National Council for Commuter Safety and Protection says commuters must also bear with a slight delay in travel time if traffic violators are to be weeded out daily. She says an average of 1,400 people die due to vehicular accidents yearly.
Well, everybody has to sacrifice. One way or the other, we have to, we have to bite the bullet. So if this is the way by which we can have safer streets, then a few times of delay would mean a lot in terms of safety. I would rather be late than never to get to my destination at all.
Under the new scheme, traffic enforcers can verify whether a driver or the bus he is driving has pending violations through fingerprint scanning using a centralized database. Drivers with at least 3 pending violations will not be allowed to ply their route until these are settled. The database contains all records of bus companies together with the contact information of drivers and operators.
Okay lang yun para maging leksyon din sa mga driver para next time iwasan na nila yung para hindi na maulit yung mga nagawa nila.
Nasa driver eh. Pag ang driver edukado, disiplinado, walang madidisgrasya.
Medina adds the new system will further prevent drivers with existing violations to just shuttle from one company to another.
I mean, they wait a year before they try to check and retrieve or pay their fines. Even the operators have a problem regarding that. When one driver is expelled from one bus company, he applies to another bus company without telling that bus company he came from the other bus company.
Meanwhile, the Senate also has passed Senate Bill number 3365, otherwise known as the Anti-Drunk and Drugged Driving Act of 2012, on its third and final reading. Under the proposed legislation, alcohol and drug testing will be required for drivers involved in accidents. A fine of 20,000 pesos to 80,000 pesos and 3-month imprisonment will be imposed on those proven driving under the influence. DOI resulting in physical injuries, meanwhile, will cost 100,000 pesos to 200,000 pesos fine and imprisonment from 3 months to 12 years depending on the injury cost. While DUI resulting in homicide will have a 300,000 pesos to 500,000 pesos fine or imprisonment ranging from 12 to 20 years. Medina says although the safety of commuters depend on the drivers, commuters or passengers must do their part as well.
We are part of the solution as much as we are part of the problem. We must remember also that the drivers will not stop where you are not there. They are trying to follow the lead of the commuters. Let's be part of the solution. Let's be part of the discipline and report.
Patricia De Leon, Solar News.
Metro Manila mayors approved the 23-month EDSA rehabilitation project despite fears of heavy traffic across the metro while construction is ongoing. Katrina Domingo with that story.
The Council of Metro Manila Mayors has approved the proposed rehabilitation of the Epifanio de los Santos Avenue, which stretches from Pasay City to Caloocan City. DPWH Secretary Rogelio Singson says a 3.7 billion peso budget has been allotted for this project. The rehabilitation will be divided into 3 phases. The first phase of repairs will be done along the stretch of Rojas Boulevard in Pasay City to Julia Vargas Street in Pasig City. The second phase from Julia Vargas to Trinoma in Quezon City, and the final phase from Trinoma to Monumento in Caloocan City.
Pare-pareho yung gagawin dyan, no? Aalisin yung mga basag-basag na concrete pavement, aayusin yon, lalagyan ng asphalt overlay, pero we will be using a high-grade, what we refer to as performance-grade asphalt overlay. No? Walang mangyayaring closure. No? So, ang may matitira at least 3 lanes.
The project is expected to be completed in 23 months to make it in time for the World Economic Forum that will be held in Manila on June 2014. Singson says to meet this target date of completion, project construction must operate 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Singson asked for the help of local government units to identify possible alternate routes, as they will also have to put up alternate road signages along EDSA as soon as possible to familiarize motorists with other routes to take while the highway construction is ongoing.
Pakiusap lang naman ng mga mayors, kung pagagamit na alternate route yon, dapat tulungan namin sila sa maintenance, and we agreed.
Singson also asks for the help of Metro Manila mayors in recovering sidewalks by clearing stalls of sidewalk vendors as well as illegal parking spaces along EDSA. Aside from major repairs on the road, the DPWH also plans to elevate sidewalks and gutters by 100 millimeters and construct elevated bus stops along EDSA. The said rehabilitation will also include the construction of an EDSA Taft flyover to ease traffic in this choke point. The MMDA adds it will have to put on hold several regulations to make way for the rehabilitation of the major thoroughfare.
Suspend natin yung motorcycle lane, baka maapektuhan din yung yellow lane. So, pag-aaralan lahat yun.
The DPWH has yet to set the first day of the EDSA rehabilitation project. One of the issues being worked out is the possible moving of the Camp Crame entrance to widen that portion of EDSA. Katrina Domingo, Solar News.
Petron and Selene rolled back prices of liquefied petroleum gas today. Both oil companies slashed LPG prices by 1 peso and 80 centavos per kilo. The reduction reflects the international contract prices for LPG for the month of February. The Bangko Sentral ng Pilipinas will issue 50 peso commemorative bills bearing an image of St. Pedro Calungsod. National Commission on the Canonization of Calungsod's Secretary General Henrietta de Villa says the limited edition bills will help promote the second Filipino saint who died a martyr in Guam over 300 years ago. De Villa adds the commemorative bills are expected to be released before St. Calungsod's feast day on April 2nd. The annual 10 Outstanding Filipino or TOEFL Awards were held recently at the Insular Life Corporate Center. The 3 TOEFL awardees were Associate Justice Adolf Ascuna for Justice and Law, Police Director Samuel Pagdilao for Police and Military Work, and Jose Datuin for the arts. Ascuna was honored for his knowledge in constitutional law and his work in the Philippine judiciary. Pagdilao is a 2-star general and current director of the Criminal Investigation and Detection Group of the PNP. Datuin is a highly acclaimed visual artist for painting and sculpture. The TOEFL Awards, organized by the Insular Life Assurance Company, pays tribute to the men and women 41 years old and above who have contributed significantly to the upliftment of the lives of their fellow Filipinos.
We've been sponsoring this for 25 years. TOEFL is the top Filipino award. And I started this when I was a JC senator he must have done something outstanding in his profession. No? He's an engineer or he's a lawyer, or he must have done something outstanding for the country. For the country. That's why it is the top Filipino award.
Well, the Philippine economy's rapid growth has been heavily influencing the possible future of certain business industries. The real estate sector in particular continues to be bullish about the country's prospects this year. Kimberly Go tells us more.
He was one of the lucky business owners who saw an expansion of his business in 2012. Motorcycle accessory shop owner Jonathan Oteza decided to move his shop into a much bigger space after seeing a consistent increase of 30 to 40% in sales.
Since na medyo gumaganda yung business natin, medyo naghanap kami ng location in which mapapakita namin o may display namin na mas maganda yung mga items namin. So we need a bigger venue, bigger shop.
Oteza is one of the micro-small industry players whose business expanded as the economy experienced rapid growth. Similarly, real estate businesses saw rapid expansion as well. For 2012, the sector experienced double-digit growth rates, 11.8 for the first quarter, 12.5 for the second quarter, and 13.1 for the third quarter.
We see this as the best market we've seen in 20 years.
Santos explains the exponential growth of the sector was fueled by the high demand for office spaces as the economic crises in Europe and the U.S. gave more opportunities for outsourcing business in the country.
I think it was higher. Yeah, it was higher than we expected. So, and the demand has been extremely strong, and the interest in the country also from foreign investors.
But other businesses were not as lucky. In July this year, President Aquino signed Executive Order 79, which added more mine-free areas and prohibited the granting of new mining permits until a law is crafted to rationalize the revenue sharing between the government and mining companies. This, industry players say, has caused a drop of investments in the mining sector.
The mining sector could have performed much better if it was allowed to. Clearly, statistics and data from the MGB has shown that there was a substantial reduction in investments coming into the country.
The mining industry's growth numbers were negative. Negative 23.2 for first quarter, negative 26.11 for second quarter, and negative 17.11 for the third quarter.
When they saw that there is still a certain degree of uncertainty because of the legal environment that was existing, they decided perhaps to just wait and hold their investments until there is more certainty.
Real estate players are confident that growth can be sustained for 2013. Different from the future of the mining sector, as prospects for the sector remain bleak unless legal issues are settled.
It will be the same unless there will be certainty.
And I think next year we're looking for another very strong year. I think we're just at the tipping point of really taking off as both a real estate market and also as a country.
Most businessmen are optimistic that their businesses will fare even better in 2013 as the economy is expected to maintain its growth. And same goes for Jonathan, who as early as now already has plans for his business expansion.
Mas lalong gaganda. So I'm looking forward, very optimistic tayo for 2013.
Kimberly Go, Solar News.
Vice President Jejomar Binay announces that an overseas Filipino worker in Saudi Arabia has been spared from execution. Binay said Rodelio Dondon Lanuza, who was convicted of killing a Saudi national over a decade ago, was spared from beheading after his family raised a total of 7.5 million pesos in blood money. The Saudi Arabian government, meanwhile, shouldered the remaining 24.9 million pesos demanded by the victim's family. Philippine ambassador to Saudi Arabia, Ezzedine Tago, says Lanuza's family had already been informed of the good news.
We just thank the Saudi Arabia.
Soldiers join emergency rescue teams to search for people who may be trapped under the rubble after an explosion rocked the headquarters of Mexico's oil giant, Pemex. That and more in this World Update from Claire Celdran.
Hours after a powerful explosion rocked the headquarters of oil giant Pemex, Mexican President Enrique Peña Nieto visited the site. He urged authorities to intensify rescue efforts to find those feared to be trapped under the rubble. The blast killed at least 25 people and left over 100 others injured. Authorities have yet to identify what caused the incident. In the U.S., Secretary of State Hillary Clinton expressed her confidence in the American leadership ahead of her final day in office. In her farewell speech, Clinton says she believes that the U.S. is the most extraordinary force for peace and progress the world has ever known. U.S. Senator John Kerry will take over Clinton's post after the Senate confirmed his nomination earlier this week. And the New York Times said Chinese hackers persistently attacked its computer system over the past months since the paper published a story on Premier Wen Jiabao. The New York Times earlier reported that Wen's family accumulated at least $2.7 billion in hidden wealth. The news organization hired computer security experts who found that there were at least 40 hacker groups. Claire Celdran, Solar News.
Sports news now from Solar Sports Desk, Gino Rufino.
Former England captain David Beckham completed his move to Paris Saint-Germain on Thursday and said he had to turn down offers from English sides because he could not bear to face his former team, Manchester United. The 37-year-old revealed he will play without a salary at PSG, instead donating what he would have earned to a children's charity in Paris. He has signed a 5-month contract and confirmed the presence of Carlo Ancelotti and Leonardo, the head coach and sporting director, had persuaded him to join the wealthy French giants.
It feels very good. It feels very good to be in Paris and to be in a club like this and to be the elder statesman. I'm very proud of that, and if I could give any advice to any of the younger players around the league, then great. I'm very happy to be here. No matter what my age is, I still feel 21 years old most days, so I'm very happy. I'm very lucky throughout my career. I'm very lucky to have achieved what I've achieved and earned what I've earned throughout my career. And it's something that one of the reasons why I wanted to come to Paris, because with Nasser and with Leo, we decided on something that's quite unique throughout this time now. I won't receive any salary. We've decided that my salary will go towards a children's charity, a local children's charity in Paris, and that's one of the things that we're very excited and proud to be able to do.
The Waste Management Phoenix Open teed off on Thursday at the famed stadium course of TPC Scottsdale. Phil Mickelson, a former star at nearby Arizona State University, had the crowd behind him and got off to a terrific start. Mickelson started on the back nine and birdied 7 of his first 9 holes. After making the turn, he then birdied 3 of the next 4 holes to get 10 under par. Mickelson eventually settled for an 11 under 60, matching the tournament record. Barely 3 years since being derided as a sorry parody of the franchise which once dominated the NFL, the San Francisco 49ers have a chance to claim a record-equaling 6th Super Bowl win on Sunday. It's been 18 years since the 49ers last appeared in a Super Bowl, their 5th victory coming against the San Diego Chargers in Miami in 1994. Jim Harbaugh, who took over as head coach for the 2011 season, has rightly earned much of the credit after he arrived from Stanford University, where he had tremendous success. In the NBA, a day after controversially trading away top scorer Rudy Gay, the Memphis Grizzlies were humbled 106-89 at Oklahoma City on Thursday, as the Thunder stayed firmly in the hunt to be the best in the West. In a battle of NBA title contenders from the Western Conference, the second-best Thunder improved to 35-11 with the rout, while questions about whether the fourth-place Grizzlies can contend without Gay will remain as they fell to 29-16. Kevin Durant led the Thunder with 27 points. For more on the NBA, the Super Bowl, and a complete wrap of the sports today, tune in to the Solar Sports Desk tonight at 10:30 p.m. In the meantime, log on to www.solarsportsdesk.ph for all the latest in the sports world. Reporting for the Solar Sports Desk, I'm Gino Rufino.
The Super Bowl is live on Solar Sports. Don't forget to catch all the Super Bowl action on Solar Sports beginning at 7 a.m. on Monday. And for those who like a more immersive fan experience, head to the Solar Super Bowl viewing parties at Bugsy's at the Fort and National Sports Grill in Greenbelt 3. Beyoncé finally answers the million-dollar question. Did she lip-sync her performance of the U.S. national anthem last January 21st? Let's find out from Menchu Macapagal. Menchu?
Thank you, Nancy. Award-winning artist Beyoncé finally breaks her silence over her alleged lip-syncing of the Star-Spangled Banner during U.S. President Barack Obama's inauguration. Beyoncé admits she sang along with a pre-recorded track, as other engagements did not allow her to practice with the orchestra. The singer, however, promises to sing live at the Super Bowl's halftime show on Sunday. And just to prove that she's got what it takes, Beyoncé performed a stirring a cappella version of the U.S. national anthem.
And the rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that a flag was still there.
Well, that ought to put to rest all those lip-syncing rumors. In other news, Grammy organizers plan to honor iconic singer Whitney Houston with a TV special a year after her death. The program will feature how the Grammy Awards scrambled to prepare a tribute to Houston just 24 hours after she died. The singer passed away on February 11, 2012, the eve of last year's Grammys. The hour-long special entitled The Grammys Will Go On, A Death in the Family airs on February 9th. Julianne Hough plays a woman with a mysterious past in the romantic drama Safe Haven. While trying to escape from the past, Hough meets a man who might change her life forever. But what happens when her past comes back to haunt her? Safe Haven is an adaptation of Nicholas Sparks' best-selling novel of the same title. And this perfect Valentine date movie opens on February 13.
Detective Tierney, do you know this woman?
Katie, he's here.
I've got to get out of here. Just tell me the truth.
It's everything that I was afraid of. He's gonna find me.
If you're in some kind of trouble, we can fix this. Katie! Katie! I love you, and I can't let you go. There's no safer place for you than here with me.
Now, I'm curious to find out what her secret is. And that is the latest in entertainment. I'm Menchu Macapagal. I'll see you again on Monday for more updates on your favorite celebrities. In the meantime, have a great weekend. Back to you, Nancy.
Thanks, Menchu. And that was your news nightly on the Solar News Channel. News Cafe with Jing Magsaysay is up next with part 2 of his interview with Justice Secretary Laila De Lima. Solar Sports Desk with Gino Rufino and Cheska Liton comes your way at 10:30. I'm Nancy Irlanda. Thank you for watching. Have a great weekend and good night.